Chapter 40, the Jesus Trilogy, Book 2, Then There Were Two. It was Sunday noon. Mary had made it home this weekend, much to Jesus' surprise and happiness. She was to go on another field trip, but it was postponed for 2 weeks. Mary's teacher had taken ill. She had gotten home early Saturday morning. She woke him with one of her sweet kisses. He was always so happy to see her, and she was always so satisfied and so relaxed after making love to him. They had even made it to church that morning. They both were so happy, but parting was so sad. Their love was so strong, but this fact also made it seem even more difficult to part. They made love as much as possible. Mary and Jesus so hoped to make babies. She was in the midpoint of her monthly cycle, the accepted time for conception. They both wanted a child so desperately. Jesus decided to walk Mary a couple of hours down the road to Capernaum. Then he would return so they could be together a little longer, but the 2 hours extended to 3. They stopped at 3 hours in a park by the roadside. There was a little stream running through the park, and it was quite wooded. And well, one thing led to another. 2 hours later, the clock turned 5. There was a chill in the evening air, but Mary would walk fast to keep warm. She would make the remaining 4-hour trip in 3 hours, arriving an hour after sunset, but she didn't care. She and her husband knew that God would protect them and her. They kissed one last lingering time, and then the two were gone. Jesus got about an hour back down the road to Nazareth and walked out into the woods to relieve himself. When he returned, he noticed a man had apparently caught up with him. He was walking in the same direction, but a few yards behind Jesus. Jesus sensed the man was catching up to him and was suddenly startled by the man's voice. "You're a strong walker." Jesus felt the man's arm touch his shoulder. "Yeah, I have to do it, a lot of it." His voice still sounding a little alarmed. "Remember me?" Jesus looked back. He wasn't sure he recognized the face in the dusty light. "I'm Byron." The light quickly came on. "Oh, yes. How are you? Where are you headed?" Jesus was happy for a little company. "Just the usual, my Sunday night run down to Nazareth, then on down south tomorrow." "Good to see you. How's business?" "Picking up. Should be good for the New Year's holiday." "Mine too. Everybody wants something done before the New Year. People are always wanting to buy little New Year's gifts. A scroll shelf, a railing chair, or something." "Yeah, my orders are always up as the New Year approaches." "That's good. Yeah, but I like to take about a week off around the holiday. Kids out to school and all." "Sometimes it's just not feasible to take time off," Byron said. "Well, maybe it will be this year," Jesus said reassuringly. "Hope so," Byron said, not really believing his own words. "Should be a pretty wild year, what with the Messiah showing up and all. Moving into 20 years past the shift," Byron said, being careful not to give away too much knowledge. "Yeah, what happened there? Suddenly everything's going backwards. What is the fulcrum? We worked our way down to the year 0 on the calendar, and now we're headed back up." "I don't know the reason for sure, but I hear it swings back up from 0 because the Messiah is supposed to appear in this century." "Messiah?" Jesus exclaimed, his blood running cold. "How do you know?" he asked the gray-haired Byron. "Scrolls say so," Byron said, wishing he would not have as soon as the word left his parched lips. "You know, I have searched the scrolls and I can't find that information. Do you know where it is?" "I'm not much of a scholar, but someone told me it was in there," Byron countered. "If you ever find the location of that information, please let me know," Jesus said. "I'll do that," Byron assured him. They both walked on in silence for several minutes. Both minds were churning far faster than their feet. Byron finally decided it was time to take the risk. "You know, I heard the Messiah was going to be introduced at the Capernaum University Student Association meeting this week," Byron said softly, his big green eyes staring at the ground. Jesus' jaw dropped a foot more than its anatomic movement would allow. "This guy, Ab, is introducing him. Supposed to present him as the next Messiah. They're going to obtain recruits and volunteers to organize a rally and create a new political faction. They're calling it the Messiah Party." Hey, Judas Iscariot is going to give a speech and then sign up everyone they can to organize a new political party. Like I said, the Messiah Party. Jesus could not believe what he was hearing. His heart had earlier dropped into his stomach, but was now down on his big toes. They say, Byron went on, that the real cog behind it is a Chinaman. Sounds pretty far-fetched to me. Sounds real plausible to me, Jesus sighed. When was the date of that speech? 5 days, next Friday at Capernaum. Judas, how could you? I'm the Messiah. He will just complicate things further, Jesus said under his breath. What'd you say? Byron asked. I was just bemoaning how much trouble this might cause. How's that? Well, I doubt Judas is the real Messiah, Jesus replied. Oh, you know this guy? Yes. If it isn't Judas, then who? Although I firmly believe there is such a man, I think he will be introduced in a very different way, Jesus said. How do you know such a thing? Byron pushed. I don't. Well, you must suspect something of someone. I know this Judas. He's been a lifelong friend of mine. Jesus now suspected more than ever that he was using the term friend rather loosely. So what do you think? Byron asked. Think? Yeah, what do you think? Is this Judas the Messiah? Let's put it this way, Jesus said. He may be a Messiah, but I think he is not the Messiah. Jesus continued his train of thought against his better judgment. The real Messiah will be heralded by a forerunner, one to pave the way. Well, maybe this Ab fellow is paving the way for this Judas. Could be, Jesus said. Well, this country, this Judas, sure needs some guy to shake up things. Everything points to the complete control of Judea by the Romans, Jesus said. They will no doubt remove Herod from the throne and follow that with some kind of systematic removal of the Hebrew race from society. Eventually, the Romans will exterminate the entire Hebrew race from the planet. Byron was tired and slowed his pace a bit. You think any Messiah could take down the Romans? Seriously, could any one man or Hebrew political group overthrow them? Unlikely, Jesus said. I suppose you're right. But what if? Well, if the Hebrew race dies out, then Rome will never be overthrown. I expect of this Messiah, whoever he is and whatever he stands for, doesn't get down to brass tacks. He doesn't get to work on gaining control of the Judean country. Well, maybe the Hebrew race will soon become extinct. Jesus stared hard at the ground. So you think whoever is behind this Messiah, or whoever is the pretender to the Judean throne, if he doesn't get cracking right now, he'll have no race to rule? That's a sobering thought, Byron said. He then added, if I was the real Messiah, and I knew it for sure, I would be in constant preparation so that when the curtain came down on any so-called impostor, I'd be ready to stand up and take over the reins. I would, as we speak, be getting my act together, don't you think? Jesus looked up at the sky. He realized he needed a lot of help. He also knew that Judas, though he may not be the real Messiah, was probably one of a long line of would-be ones. A sense of foreboding came over Jesus as he walked with his gray-haired friend. Though he knew Byron casually, Jesus was amazed at the depth of the conversation they had had. He had a steady suspicion for years that he, Jesus, the little carpenter from Nazareth, was the Messiah. But tonight, as he walked with a near total stranger, he somehow felt a sense of urgency about this Messiah business that he had not felt before. Something, some information, some direction had always been missing before. He must study harder, pray with more fervor, and emulate his Creator even more closely every day. Well, I'll be heading down to the Shekel, Byron said as they neared the outskirts of Nazareth. Food isn't good, the beds sag, no hot water, but the place is fairly clean. Well, I must be getting home too. My mother Mary is waiting. I understand. Greet her for me. Good night. Good night. As the two separated, their facial expressions were as different as night and day. Byron was totally elated. He had succeeded in getting into Jesus' head and placing there a sense of urgency that was not there before. He had planted the seeds he hoped would drive this young man to commit and prepare in order to meet the messianic challenge. Jesus' face was somber as he entered the door to his house. He did manage to say, "Hi, Mom. I'm home."